The most devastating thing an empath will ever face is not feeling someone else's pain. It is finally recognizing that their continued presence is making that pain worse for both of them. And that recognition, the one you have been circling for months, possibly years, returning to and retreating from, with the specific exhaustion of someone who can feel the cost of staying and the cost of leaving simultaneously, is not a failure of your compassion. It is the completion of it. Because the empath who finally lets go is not the empath who stopped loving. It is the empath who loved honestly enough to stop pretending that what they were sustaining was serving either person in it. You feel things most people cannot access. You walk into a room and know before a single word is spoken what is actually happening beneath the surface. You sense the wound beneath the behavior, the fear beneath the anger, the longing beneath the coldness. That extraordinary perception has made you, in the relationships where it was genuinely honored, irreplaceable. It has also kept you far too long in dynamics that were slowly, systematically, entirely, unnecessarily consuming the most precious resource you possess: your capacity for genuine feeling, your ability to be present, your wholeness, because the empath who can feel someone's wound also feels the pull to heal it. And that pull, genuine, compassionate, entirely human, becomes the mechanism by which difficult people retain access to the empath's extraordinary energy long past the point where that access is serving anything real. 7 signs mark the moment when the honest assessment of that access requires a different decision. Not because you failed, not because the love was insufficient, but because some people are not ready to receive what you are offering. And continuing to offer it is not generosity. It is the most sophisticated form of self-abandonment available to someone who genuinely cares. The first sign it is time to let someone go is that your body has already made the decision, and your mind is the only part still negotiating. The empath's nervous system is their most reliable instrument. It processes information about people and dynamics at a speed and depth that the conscious mind cannot match. And when something is genuinely wrong, when a relationship is draining rather than sustaining, consuming rather than reciprocating, the body knows before the mind has constructed a single acceptable justification for the knowing. You have felt it. The specific, persistent, never fully resolved tension that arrives before you enter certain interactions. The exhaustion that follows them, that no amount of sleep adequately addresses. The way your shoulders carry something particular around this person. The way your chest holds something that is not quite peace in their presence. That is not anxiety requiring management. That is your most accurate instrument, providing its most clear reading. And the gap between what your body has been telling you and what your mind has been accepting has been the specific, daily, enormous cost of staying. Here's the first brutal truth you have known for longer than you are comfortable admitting. The sensing came before the permission to act on it. And the intellectual work you have been doing, the analyzing, the contextualizing, the generous reframing of what you clearly sense, has not changed the sensing. It has only delayed the decision the sensing has already made. The second sign is that your energy is consistently depleted after time with this person, and the depletion has become the baseline of your daily existence. The empath experiences other people's energy as physically real. A person carrying sustained negativity, unaddressed anger, chronic resentment, unexamined darkness, does not just affect the empath emotionally. It affects them physically. The negativity settles in the body. It disrupts sleep. It follows the empath into other areas of their life where it has no business being. It reduces the quality of their presence in every other relationship and every other context that their extraordinary sensitivity could be serving. When time with a specific person consistently produces this level of depletion, when you need significant recovery time after ordinary interactions, when you find yourself bracing before contact and exhaling with relief after it ends, You are not experiencing the ordinary difficulty of a relationship going through a hard period. You are experiencing a structural incompatibility between what this dynamic requires and what your system can provide without depleting what sustains it. Here is the second brutal truth. You cannot heal anyone from depletion. The empath who stays past the genuine limit of their capacity to regenerate is not sacrificing themselves for love. They are offering diminished presence, the tired, hollowed out, going through the motions version of their gift, and calling the offering sufficient. It is not, neither for the other person nor for yourself. The third sign is that you have attempted to communicate what is wrong, clearly, honestly, with genuine vulnerability, and your words have not been heard, not misunderstood, not received and disagreed with, not considered and found unconvincing, simply not heard, passed through the interaction without leaving any mark on what follows, without producing any visible shift in how the person relates to what you expressed, without generating the kind of genuine response that communication between people who genuinely care about each other naturally produced. And bottom, the empath's words stop landing. When the honest expression of what they are experiencing produces deflection, dismissal, counterattack, or simply the continuation of the behavior that made the expression necessary, something significant has been revealed about the current state of the dynamic. It has revealed that the space in which genuine exchange could occur has been compromised, that the relationship in its current form does not have the structural capacity to hold what you are trying to bring into it, and that continuing to bring it, continuing to be vulnerable in a space that has demonstrated it cannot receive that vulnerability with care, is not communication. It is the repeated offering of something precious to a dynamic that has demonstrated it cannot honor it. When your truth stops being heard, it does not mean your truth is wrong. It means you are speaking it to the wrong address. The fourth sign, it is time to let someone go, is that every effort you have made has left the fundamental pattern unchanged. The empath does not arrive at the decision to leave quickly or easily. They are not impulsive leavers. They are the people who stay longest in difficult dynamics, because they feel the wound beneath the behavior, because they believe in the person's capacity for better, because their healing instinct makes departure feel like abandonment of someone in genuine need. So they try, with the full, extraordinary force of their capacity for understanding and compassionate response. They try different approaches to the same conversation. They try patience. They try boundaries. They try the specific, generous, deeply personal forms of support that their profound attunement to this person makes possible. They bring their whole self to the project of healing the dynamic, and the dynamic returns to the same shape. This is the moment that honest empaths must even, Tully, face with the clear eyes that sustained effort and genuine self-examination eventually produce. The recognition that the pattern is not responding to what is being offered, not because the offering is insufficient, because the person receiving it has not chosen to let it change them, because change, genuine, structural, behavioral change, requires something that no external force, however loving and however precisely targeted, can provide in the absence of the other person's own decision to engage with it. You cannot choose healing for another person. You can create the conditions for it. You can offer it with extraordinary skill and genuine love. You can hold the space for it with more patience and more compassion than most people are capable of. But you cannot reach into another person's interior and produce the decision that only they can make. Here is the third brutal truth. If every effort you have made has left the fundamental pattern unchanged, that consistency is information. It is not a call for more effort. It is the clearest possible signal that the variable you have been attempting to change through your efforts is not the one that actually determines the outcome. The fifth sign is that you have begun to lose yourself in the relationship, and the losing has been so gradual that you barely noticed the departure. The empath, who is in a chronically draining dynamic, does not lose themselves all at once. It happens incrementally, in the daily, small, individually manageable compressions of self that the dynamic requires for its continuation. The opinion not expressed because the response was not worth the cost. The need not named because the naming would produce more difficulty than the suppression. The genuine reaction replaced with the managed reaction that keeps the peace at the price of a small piece of authentic presence. Each compression is individual, lily survivable. Cumulatively, they produce someone who is present in the interaction but absent from themselves within it, who shows up to the relationship but does not bring the most essential parts of who they are to it, because those parts have learned, through repeated experience, that they are not welcome or safe or capable of being received with the care they require. The empath who has reached this stage will often notice a particular quality in their own reflection, either literal or interior, a quality of diminishment, of being less than what they remember being, of having available less of the brightness, the creativity, the genuine aliveness that characterized them before this dynamic became the organizing structure of their daily existence. That diminishment is the sign, not because losing yourself is always grounds for leaving. Relationships require compromise, and healthy compromise produces growth. But because the losing that occurs in a genuinely draining dynamic is not compromise producing growth, it is depletion producing reduction. And a relationship that is making you consistently less of who you are is not serving the purpose that relationships were designed to serve. You are not here to become less. The right relationship makes you more. If you are becoming less, the relationship is telling you something, and you have been choosing not to hear it. The sixth sign it is time to let someone go is that you find yourself relieved in their absence, and then guilty for the relief. Pay attention to this one, because it is one of the most honest indicators available, and one of the most consistently ignored. When the person whose presence consistently produces the depletion and the tension and the vigilance described in the earlier signs is temporarily absent, the empath's nervous system does something unmistakable. It relaxes. The specific, chronic, back-row undalertness of someone who has been navigating a difficult dynamic drops. The weight that has been living in the shoulders releases slightly. The part of the mind that was perpetually monitoring the other person's mood, the energetic temperature of the interaction, the signs of what might be coming, goes quiet, and the empath, feeling this relief, immediately reaches for guilt, because the relief feels like evidence of something unloving, like proof that they do not care enough, like the confirmation that they are a bad partner or bad person for experiencing ease in the absence of someone they are supposed to love. But relief in someone's absence is not evidence of insufficient love. It is evidence of what their presence has been costing. And the guilt that follows the relief is not a moral signal requiring you to recommit to the relationship. It is the empath's compassion reaching for the other person's experience at the expense of their own honest one. Here's what the relief is actually telling you. Your nervous system knows the difference between a relationship that sustains it and a relationship that depletes it, and it is giving you the most direct, most honest, most physically immediate report available on which of those categories this relationship occupies. The guilt is the trained override, the habitual, compassion-driven impulse to immediately discount your own experience in favor of the other person's needs. Stop discounting it. The relief is real. What it is telling you is real. And honoring that information is not cruelty. It is the most basic form of self-knowledge available to someone who has been ignoring their own nervous system's reports in favor of what they hoped was true. The seventh sign, the final one, the one that contains all the others, is that you have begun to grieve the relationship while you are still in it. This grief is unmistakable to anyone who has felt it. It is not grief about the relationship ending. It is grief about what the relationship was supposed to be and is not. Grief for the version of this person you believed in, or that they showed you in the beginning, and the distance between that version and who they are consistently demonstrating themselves to be now. Grief for the investment that has not produced what investment is supposed to produce. Grief for the time and the energy and the genuine love that has been offered into something that could not hold it. When the empath is grieving a relationship while still inside it, when the mourning of what was supposed to be has arrived before the relationship has actually ended. They are living in an honest recognition that the ending has already occurred at the most essential level. What continues is form without substance, the continuation of a structure whose interior has already been lost. This grief is the most honest sign of all, because it is the empath's deepest self, the part that knows, that is always known, that the knowing has always preceded the permission finally surfacing in a form that cannot be re-explained or reframed or compassionately contextualized back into something more comfortable. The grief is the truth, and the truth is telling you that what needs to be honored now is not the continuation of the form, but the acknowledgement of the substance that is no longer inside it. You are already grieving. The leaving has already begun. The only question is whether you will honor what is already true. So here's what this moment demands of you. Not more deliberation, not another cycle of the same honest recognition, followed by the same compassionate retreat into staying. Not the extended, generous, endlessly postponed reckoning that you have been approaching from every direction, except the one that produces an actual decision, the decision made today, not from anger. That is not the energy this decision deserves, and it is not the energy that will serve either of you. Not from exhaustion that has finally exceeded what staying requires, because decisions made from that place tend to be reversed when the exhaustion temporarily subsides. From the specific, clear, settled, entirely self-possessed clarity of someone who has read the 7 signs, honestly, applied them to their actual situation without the generous reframing that compassion automatically provides, and arrived at the recognition that they have been too available for too long to something that cannot receive what they are offering with the care and the reciprocity that make the offering sustainable. Go back through the 7 signs. Apply them not abstractly, but to the specific relationship that was present in your mind the moment you began reading this. The one whose name or whose face arrived before you could redirect your attention. The one you have been having an internal argument about for longer than you can comfortably admit. How many of the signs are present? Your body already knows the answer. Your nervous system has been providing it consistently. The question is not whether you know. The question is whether you are ready to act on what you know. Here is what acting on it looks like. Not the dramatic, everything at once, final confrontation that discharges the accumulated energy of the decision into something that resembles resolution without actually being it. The specific, concrete, immediately available first step of beginning to withdraw, of redirecting the energy, the attention, the extraordinary empathic investment that has been flowing toward this dynamic, back toward yourself, not all at once. The first step, today, identify the single largest way your energy is currently flowing toward this relationship at the expense of your own interior life. The daily contact that requires more than it replenishes. The mental space occupied by the monitoring and the managing and the perpetual low-grade hoping that this time will produce a different result. The emotional investment continuing past the point where honesty would have redirected it. Begin withdrawing it, consciously, not as punishment, not as a statement, as the simple, quiet, self-respecting act of beginning to give yourself what you have been giving to someone who could not receive it with the care it deserved. The world needs what you carry, in its full form, whole, regenerated, genuinely alive with the capacity for extraordinary presence and genuine connection. That is your most fundamental gift. It does not need the depleted version, the tired, hollowed out, going through the motions version that extended investment in the wrong direction eventually produces. You are not a renewable resource that replenishes regardless of how it is used. You are a person with limits that deserve the same compassion you have extended to everyone else. Honor them. Starting now, starting with the decision you already know needs to be made. The empath who finally lets go is not the one who stopped caring. They are the one who finally cared enough to be honest. Be honest. It is time.